NetGalley, and today we are going to be wrapping up all the books that I read in January. January was actually a really good reading month. I was just on a roll. I was just picking stuff up left and right, and I let my little mood reader heart take over. So, of course, my TBR mostly went out the window, but is anybody surprised? Probably not. If you've been around here for a minute, you know I'm a mood reader, and my TBRs are mostly, this is what I think I want to read this month, and I'm going to try to get to, but if I don't, oh well, like, it's just an idea. But I did manage to get to 8 books this month. I have one that is still in progress, but there's still 2 days until the end of the month. Today is the 30th, so I will probably finish it because I'm halfway through and I read that full like 40% almost last night. So I'm probably going to finish it today, but I wanted to go ahead and get this filmed because Saturdays are my filming days. So that's why you're going to see me in the same outfit for a whole bunch of videos. First, we're going to talk about the reading stats, and I am tracking everything this year in my Little Inklings reading planner. I'm obsessed. I absolutely love this. Hey, it matches my World Hopper shirt. But I am absolutely in love with this. It's got so many cool little things on the inside. It's got like this A to Z challenge. So it's like read something like through the whole year. That starts with every letter of the alphabet, so I'm tracking that. It's got a goal sheet. I need to fill out this important info where like how many books are on my shelves that were unread, stuff like that, which I need to go ahead and do. But it also has like a monthly tracker. It's also got like this 2021 reading challenge, and I think that's really cool. It's got different like all categories, so I'm gonna try to fill all of that in. But it's also got like a place for reviews, so it's great, y'all. It's pretty fantastic. So we're gonna go with that. There is even I don't know if you can see it, a monthly reading wrap-up page. This makes my life so much easier. So like I said, read 8 books in the month of January. Out of those 8, 3 of them were physical books I already own. 5 of them were e-arcs. So that was really cool because I had gone on this like NetGalley spree of just like requesting everything, like not thinking that I would get anything, and I got way more than I thought I would. So yeah, I went through and read a bunch of those, and most of them were really great, and we're going to talk about everything right now. The first one is Sweet and Bitter Magic, which is a NetGalley arc that I am about halfway through with right now. We are following these 2 girls. One is a witch, one is a magic source. So she is filled with magic and she can see magic, but she can't use it. But the witch can use her magic. So that's just really cool. And they don't get along, and they're on this like journey to defeat this big evil witch that has kind of set this plague upon their land. And it is so good so far. Do I think it's going to be a new favorite? No. I definitely think this is going to be a fun middle of the road YA fantasy romance. And that's just where I'm at right now. It is a sapphic romance, which I really, really enjoy. And it is like kind of like bickering enemies to lovers. And I'm really enjoying the banter between the 2 main characters. And just a lot of the little plot points are fun. Do I think it's like anything super special? No, not yet. But obviously I haven't got to the end. I still have some predictions, and we will see if they come true. I will probably do a full review of this book since it is an arc that comes out in March, but so far so good. I have a feeling it's going to run about the 3.5 range, so we'll see if I am right or if it goes up or down based on the ending. The next one that I read was also an e-arc, and that is Hall of Smoke. This is a Viking-inspired fantasy standalone that I really enjoyed. I gave it 3 stars. Again, not my favorite, but it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a little slow for me, and that's funny because I tend to like slow stories, but it was just a little boring. Like, it felt like nothing was happening. Like, we keep pushing forward to the end where there's this big moment that I really liked the end, but man, getting there was a struggle for me. And while I enjoyed it, I'm still giving it 3 stars. I still recommend that you pick it up. It just wasn't for me. But there were a lot of aspects I loved. I loved the Viking inspired world. I loved that it like leaned really heavily into like the gods, and that is the magic system. And I had a good time. I just wasn't overly thrilled about it. The next arc that I picked up was The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. This was a 5-star read. I absolutely loved it. This is a YA, I think bordering on adult, because it's definitely dark and violent and graphic, and it borders very, very closely on the adult side of YA, so go in knowing that. But it is a YA fantasy where we follow our main character, Dika, and she turns 16, and at this age, girls are tested, and that means they are cut. And if they bleed red, then they're pure. If they bleed gold, then they're demons. And there's this death mandate where they have to be murdered. She bleeds gold and shit ensues. I actually have a full review for this book if you want to check it out. I highly recommend you go there. It is a spoiler-free review where you can get all my thoughts about this book and why I think you should read it and why I loved it so much. But just know that it's great, but it's also very, very dark. The next arc, I told you I had a lot of arcs, was Cast in Firelight by Dana Swift. This is another YA fantasy. Again, I don't think this one is as like dark and close to adult as like the Gilded Ones, but it does skew slightly more mature, which I appreciated. Some of the things we talked about, there's a whole lot of like period positivity in it, which I absolutely loved. Let's be real. I have a full review on this one as well. If you want to go check it out, I can link it for you. But in this, we are following 2 royals, and they are betrothed to each other from a very, very young age. It is an arranged political marriage, but they don't really get along. They don't even really know each other. And in this story is kind of like the first time that they are meeting, and they just know they're not going to like each other. They're not going to get along. And we have the girl, Andra, who is just not interested. And then the boy, Jatin, who is kind of a little arrogant, but like underneath it all, he's really a good guy. And they end up pretending to be other people and then kind of teaming up to do this like investigation of some stuff that's going on in their kingdom. And it is just so good. I enjoyed it so much. There's so much angst and I just loved it. So the final arc that I ended up reading this month was Mask of Mirrors. This is an adult fantasy and it was, again, a 5-star read. This was so good. I'm actually doing a full review of this, so I'm not going to get too deep into it, but just know that this is a very politically heavy adult fantasy. We follow this girl, Ren, who is this like orphan living on the streets after she has left her like thieving gang that she was in, and then she like returns to her hometown to run this long con on the nobles where she ingratiates herself into this one noble family and convinces them that she is a long lost relative, so they will add her into their family basically so she can have all their money. And that is just the short and simple of it. It gets very complex, very detailed. It is such a complex and intricate world with a really cool magic system, and we follow multiple POVs. We follow Ren, we follow a couple of the nobles, a couple of the like lower class, and it is just such a cool story. And I'm really excited for this to come out. I think this is actually already out, if I'm not mistaken. I think this came out like on the 19th of January, but y'all, pick this up. It is so good. If you like a kind of slower burn, very political fantasy, then this is for you. So that covers all of my arcs for the month, which I am so grateful for. I've really been enjoying reading the arcs because it just kind of gives me that little something extra to review for you guys, to share with you guys, and I just really enjoy getting some of them. On to the books that I read from my own collection this month, and the first one is The Last Unicorn by Peter Beagle. This is like a classic fantasy book, and I loved it. Granted, I think a lot of my love for this book, I gave it 4 stars. I think a lot of that is nostalgia because I grew up watching the movie, and I absolutely love the movie. I have a signed copy of the movie, like it's a whole thing. But I really, really liked it, and it is a very, very faithful adaptation, to say the least. I actually filmed an entire video on book to movie comparison, and that is actually a collaboration that I'm doing with Andrew from Get Right On In, and we will be dropping that video, I believe, the 16th of February, so watch out for that. I'm super excited for that video. You have no idea, because I enjoyed reading this and watching the movie and making my comparisons, but just know this is about a unicorn who finds out that she is the last unicorn on Earth, and she goes out to figure out where the rest of the unicorns are. And that is kind of like the short and sweet of it, but so good. Classic fantasy, like short and sweet. Pick this one up. Next, I read Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, and it should come as no surprise that this was a 5-star book. Honestly, I had a really, really good month this month. Like, I had so many 4s and 5s that, like, I'm just super, super thrilled. But this is Brandon Sanderson's, like, debut novel, his first published work. And you can tell, you can definitely tell that it's, like, Sanderson, but, like, baby Sanderson. And I just had so much fun with it. I actually read this with a bunch of other people for the Crab Along, and we are reading all Cosmere books all year. So that's going to be so much fun. I actually have a live show on this tonight. So by the time this video is live, it will have already happened. So I can link that on the replay for you. But this is basically fantasy zombies. Fantasy leprosy zombies in a, like, prison state. It is so good. Like, it's really hard to explain. I also filmed an entire review for this that you can probably see the day after this wrap-up comes live, I believe. I think. I tried to plan out all my stuff for, like, the whole, like, 2 weeks, so we'll see how that goes. But I definitely recommend picking this up if you like Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere work, because I think it's going into Rhythm of War. There are tie-ins between the world of Elantris and Rhythm of War. I have not yet gotten to Rhythm of War, but I will this year, so I'm really excited for that. But yeah, I even caught some of the Cosmere tie-ins in this book, but it's very, very small and minimal, because at this point, he didn't know that he was going to blow up as big as he did. So he just made, like, little Easter eggs as opposed to, like, the huge overarching Cosmere the way it is now. And finally, the last book that I have to talk about this month is Heart of Flame by Nikki Palpretto. This is the sequel to Crown of Feathers, and I loved it. I was so happy to be back in this world with these characters and just to see the plot of this entire story progress. Like, I loved it. I loved the first book. I gave it 5 stars. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I am wanting to pre-order book 3 when it comes out, but I looked into pre-ordering it from, like, a local bookstore, and it wasn't, like, available to pre-order yet. So I'm gonna do that, like, as soon as they have the ability to, like, have it on pre-order, because I'm trying to shop more at local bookstores if I can. So I loved this. I can't really get too much into the plot without giving away the plot of Crown of Feathers, but in the series overall, we follow Veronica and Val, who are two sisters kind of living on the fringes of society because they are unregistered animages, so they have magic and they can talk to animals. And Veronica wants nothing more than to be a phoenix rider. Her sister and her kind of argue, and Veronica ends up running off to join this group of phoenix riders where she ends up pretending to be a boy so that she can join them, and shenanigans ensue. I have an entire review for book 1. It's terrible because it was like my first ever book review, but I'll link it if you want to see it. Just know that it gets even better in book 2. We follow even more perspectives, which I love. For a YA book, this skews very much to adult fantasy. Not so much in like blood and gore and like smut. Like there's not really any of that, but I mean there is war, but it's not as dark as say like Gilded Ones is. But in the fact that we have this intricate plot with multiple POVs that you don't normally see in YA fantasy, and I really, really appreciate the multi-POV of this book because I don't think this series would have been as good with just Veronica's point of view. So I like seeing other people in the world, and I really would like to see more like YA books do that. All right, that was everything that I read in the month of January. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of some of these books, if you've read them, if you plan on reading them. Thank you for hanging out with me. My name is Jessie, and I will see you next time. Bye.